up, everybody? Righteous Revolution Podcast. I'm Trent.
I'm Adam.
And today we got a very special guest, one of my best friends, Shannon Mercer, who is also my worship pastor. Shannon, say what's up.
How we doing?
So, not being cliche or anything, but I talked to Shannon to come in, and I twisted his arm to come talk with us a little bit. But, you know, I've known Shannon for a long time, for a lot of years. He was in my wedding. Our wives are best friends, you know, so on and so forth. But he's done worship for a lot of years, and I've seen a lot of seasons of worship in our lives. But you just wanted to kind of talk about the importance of worship. You know, I didn't want to just nail you down on that, but I know how important it is to you and how well you engage people in worship. So, yeah.
Okay.
You enjoying it?
Yeah. So I guess just where you want to go with this?
Yeah. So just with with the importance of worship,
Okay.
like how the importance of it to you and how you apply it to your life, just really other, not just song,
Right.
but as a lifestyle, as a worship pastor.
Mm-hmm.
What's your thoughts on that?
So to me, is for me personally, and it should be, I think, for everyone, to be so interwoven into your life, to where it's not. I think a lot of people would say, we'll talk about worship, and their mind immediately goes to whatever's going on Sunday morning right before the preacher preaches.
Yep.
And there's never a thought beyond that. Or it's strictly based off of a certain style of music or something that attaches to that person or that they really are inclined to one way or the other. And I think for the benefit of every Christian, they need to understand it's more than that. We use the line a lot of times, and it maybe doesn't make sense to some people that worship as a lifestyle. And what we mean by that is that almost essentially like your prayer life.
Mm-hmm.
You don't just necessarily pray at this one time in the day and then it's done. In the perfect situation, you should be in constant, talking to God and prayer to God throughout your day. Different things happen. I need to take a second and I need to talk to God about that.
Yeah.
Worship should essentially be the same thing, because worship can be the actual physical act of taking a time and getting alone with God and actually praising Him and worshiping Him. But it also, we worship Him through how we live our lives, how we treat people, how we go about the business that we're in or anything like that. All that would also be considered worship, because we understand that we're called to live a certain way.
Right.
So to understand that is super important for a Christian. But then when those times do come, when we are in church and it is a call to worship situation, what is your mindset and what are you doing in that time?
Yeah.
And understanding that everybody's different and everybody has their own temperament and things like that. But I feel like, at least for me personally, again, like you said, we've known each other for a long time, and I'm not a big talker. I don't. This is super uncomfortable right now. But if you know me personally, I'm not super out there guy.
Right.
But when it comes time to worship, for me personally, something changes. And because I allow myself to fully be in the moment and fully give myself over to worshiping God freely in that moment, when people see me on stage versus they meet me in real life, they sometimes don't understand.
I get
Like
it.
what
I
is
get it.
what is happening?
Yeah, I get it.
Or they think it's what I'm doing on stage is an act, and it's not. It's probably more so that in regular life, I'm way more reserved and there's way more wall up
Oh yeah, sure.
than when we get into the time of worship.
Yeah.
That it's just I'm just here and I'm just
Right.
being and I'm just loving on you.
Yeah.
And so that allows the freedom in my mind, my body, my spirit to react to the moment.
Yeah.
You know?
That's awesome. I was gonna say I think that was my first impression. Like, yeah, it's like I think I've heard him say 3 words before, but man, up on stage, like he owns it, man. He's rocking it. But one of the things that you said was like mindset. You know, like getting your mindset right. I mean, sometimes I'll be in church and I'll struggle to kind of get my head space on like. All right, like I'm here to worship Jesus, you know, when we're talking about music specifically, but like what would you say are some ways that like you obviously leading worship, like have had to like take that focus and put it on Jesus? Like how do you kind of recenter on a day that you're not really feeling?
So to me, the biggest thing is I have to remind myself, especially even in leading a worship service, because, and Trent can attest to this, there's so much going on.
Sure.
Right? There's so many things going on, and a lot of times people don't realize that. There's so much that leads up to it, the preparation of it, and the organization of it, and all that takes place, and we're making sure we're on time and where we need to be. And even at least for our setup, there's so much going on during it, like. Because we don't have a full band and everything, we use tracks.
Sure.
And there's a click constantly in our heads the
Yeah.
entire time, and a little voice saying chorus, verse, this, that. And I've described this to people before, and they're like, I don't understand how that works. And I've said, me neither, but Jesus did it. Because I'll be leading worship, I'm playing my guitar, I'm singing, I'm hearing myself, I'm hearing the rest of the band, I'm hearing the other vocals. Because I set up all the lights, I'm in the back of my mind watching for the reflection of the lights off the wall to make sure we're on time. I'm looking at the words on the back of the screen, make sure that's all good. And then I'm trying to gauge off of a reaction from the crowd as I'm trying to lead them where we want to go and worship. And all that's happening at the same time. And literally there will be times where I have to say, okay, why in the middle of it? The purpose of this is for him. To where I'll have to literally take a half a second, because that's really all I have in the moment, and say, none of this is here right now, it's just him.
Yeah. That's good.
And I feel like that's what a lot of people miss or haven't gotten comfortable enough to realize, is that when we come together, you're in a room full of people, but you're here for him. Like, this is the one thing that we can actually physically give him.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing he needs. There's nothing he lacks. But we can worship him, and it's literally the one gift that we have to offer him.
Yeah.
So to do that half-heartedly, to me, is a problem.
Yeah.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
that's what I try to go for.
And we got, I believe there's a standard of excellence. Shannon and I have been around worship with each other for a long, long time, and I've messed with him several days when it's hectic and just wild, and everything is just glitching. And I'm serious, man. Like you will go and practice will be fine.
Mm-hmm.
You will not touch anything, and it's game time, and it's like, what just happened?
Right.
But I always mess with Shannon because it's always those best moments. I think he might not like it or might not agree with me, but
Right.
when it pushes him to that point, it is a moment where I think that he really focuses in and kind of he gets locked in, and it's like it's time to worship. When you're up there as a worship pastor, and I already know the answer to this, but nobody else does, so I'm going to ask anyway.
Right.
What is your goal with the people?
So my job as the worship pastor is to, number one, create an environment before the people walk in the door to try to make them feel as comfortable as they can to just do what we were just talking about, right? To
Focus on him in the moment. And I know for anybody, the way that we go about doing that may not fit them, and that's fine. But this is how we feel like we're supposed to do it. This is how it's worked well for us, and so this is how we do things. So creating that environment to do that, and then our purpose is to set up the moment where our pastor delivers the message that God gave him.
Right.
And so my job is to get you as prepared to hear that message as I possibly can. And if I can usher you through, we do 4 songs. If I can usher you from everything you were going through this week and what walked in the door with you,
Yeah.
usher you from that through those 4 songs to where you're in a true intimate moment with Jesus, and then allow the pastor to deliver the message that Jesus wants you to hear this week,
Yeah.
then I've done my job.
So essentially, like you're making, well, and I say making, you are leading people to a point of vulnerability before Jesus.
Absolutely. That's my goal.
That's really good.
That's my goal. My
Yeah,
goal
you
is
do
to-
that. You do that to me all the time. Thank you.
Right. You're welcome.
Yeah. If you see me crying, look, it's a thing. I do it all the time. Like nothing's wrong.
It's
no,
fine.
it's good.
Right.
Like if he's up there, we're worshiping, and you see it, it's good.
Yeah.
Like that's what we need to see. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. No, but that's the goal. The goal is to get you to close and into a mindset to hear that word as cleanly and clearly as possible.
Yeah.
Because we have so much junk when we walk in the door on Sunday morning. We have so much junk just leaving the house to get to church on Sunday.
You yelling at the
You know,
kids.
how many times I yelled at the kids this
Oh, I
morning
know,
because
I
we're
know.
trying to rush them out the door to get them to church on time.
Yeah.
Um,
And I know the congregation don't think that happens. I know
Right.
as us pastors, we don't, of course we don't yell at our kids.
Right.
On
Absolutely
Sunday.
not. No. Or threaten lives
Yeah.
or anything like that. But yeah.
We do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Oh, I'm
a
sure.
lot.
Yeah, one day, I'm
Right,
just hearing it, pocketing it for later.
yes, exactly.
You wait till we
When the
get
time comes, you'll be like, this is totally normal.
Yeah.
I know what people do,
Yeah.
so I know. Yeah,
That's so
It's
funny.
okay.
That's so funny.
that's awesome.
But yeah, that's the goal.
Yeah.
And when you're in a service and everything is set up right and God moves, then it's like the best feeling in the world.
Yeah.
What's even better than that is something you alluded to, and maybe it's not better, but it's just as good, is when everything's a train wreck
Mm-hmm.
and he still moves.
Oh yeah, man. Oh yeah.
That's when you're
absolutely.
like, okay,
I'm gonna still do all these things that I'm gonna do to try to make this as good as possible, and at the same time, I understand you're still in control of this whole thing,
Right.
and I do not matter
Yeah.
in this situation.
That's one of the things that I love about that. We do the same thing with like Jonathan and preaching is there are times. So Shannon and I, with the pastor, we'll get a little bit deeper look because we're trying to just set up like his message or something. and we'll be talking about topics, and he'll bounce it off of us like, man, I don't really know. Our pastor is not a series pastor. He's not. He really seeks the Lord for his message. Like, he's not one of those guys that steal sermons, or like it's all him in that moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, just going before the Lord. And there's times where he's just, I mean, you can just see it, man, on him. He is just troubled because he's just not where he feels comfortable. And we always laugh because, like, oh, it's gonna be on today.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, it's gonna be on, because every time, man, the Lord moves. And I think a lot of that too is the Lord allowing us to go to that, to showing us our reliance on Him. You know, to make it, because it's nothing we do.
Yeah.
It's nothing that we do. But you said something. It's something Adam and I like to talk about a lot. So I definitely want to hear what you guys say on it. But you made the comment of that you were, before anything ever happened, you preparing that atmosphere, for an intimate time of worship, and that's a part of in our everyday lives, as well. Like, what are we? Sundays we're coming together as a corporate body to worship the Lord, but what are we doing to prepare the room of our lives, right? In worship? Like, are we preparing that place of worship to be holy, to be, to just be a sovereign place before the Lord, that He has that time, that we're able to prime that moment with Him? Or are we feeding off of worship on Sundays, and and then just going from there, and then you come back and you're on E again?
Right.
But what you say on that? We've talked about, like, priming that.
Yeah, speaking of my microphone.
he just
But I'm
busted
pulling
out
from
the Bible.
Yeah, pulled out the text. Well, it kind of goes off of what Shannon was saying too, but I think of Romans 12:1, and it says, "And so, dear brothers and sisters, I plead with you to give your bodies to God, because all He has done for you. Let them be a living and holy sacrifice, the kind He will find acceptable. This is truly the way to worship Him." 'Cause I think, of course, we think of Scripture and, I think we think of worship as music on a stage, but what you were talking about too is, like, in our daily lives, like, we can worship Him through everything we do, and I think of worship also in obedience, like listening to Him and taking action on that. So going back to what you were saying, Trent, like we were talking about, like, how foundation is so important. I think worship for me is one of those things. I think we talked about in the past. I try to do I started with a 10-10-10. I try to do more of like a 20-20-20, give myself a full hour in the morning, but 10 minutes of prayer, 10 minutes of worship, and 10 minutes of reading, or 20 minutes of reading the Bible. So for me in the past, my mindset of worship was, I'm listening to music or I'm singing and praising God. But I've been learning more. It's worship is more than just that. It's in everything we do. But you have to pursue that and seek that, and you make it a priority.
Yeah.
And that, which I guess to that point, question for you, Shannon, like, how do you prioritize worship, in your day-to-day life? Like, how do you kind of keep that on the front of your mind?
So, for me, I'll confess, I don't have a devoted time necessarily. For me, it's kind of on a constant move.
Yeah, it sounds really weird. Found, like, for me to personally,
Other people, this works, and that's great for them. Instead of I'm going to sit down and I'm going to read through this and I'm going to spend time with you, which I wholeheartedly believe is good. Not saying that it's not. It's difficult for me for reasons. But I literally, I'm in my mind saying, okay, Jesus is walking with me through this day.
Yeah.
And so it's literally I'm having this conversation with this person at work,
Yeah.
and in my mind, I'm saying, okay,
Yeah.
this is not going well. Can you do anything with this because this sucks? And please help this situation. And then leave that, go back to my office, and take a second of what are we doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like what is happening right now? And then little later, turn some music on and have a moment, or turn a message on and listen to that, and try to fit it in multiple ways throughout the day.
Yeah.
Seems to work for me. It's not perfect. It's not great. It's not the ideal thing. But at least that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah, that's good. Trey, what would you say are some ways that anybody listening can like intentively make worship a priority? Like, how could somebody do that throughout their day?
You know, I've been thinking about this, like, as we've been talking. You just think through, like, the people of the Bible, and I know that you talk about David a lot, but man, like David, his life was chaos. Like, it was not. We think King David, but dude, this guy's life was a train wreck, honestly. But he always prioritized the focus of worship. And it wasn't necessarily through song, but it was crying out to God. And that's, where our heart is, right? Is where our worship is.
Right.
What we're going to worship. If these younger people that's like playing video games all the time, like, bro, that's your worship, because not saying there's anything wrong with that, but like when you're spending so much time on these things, whatever it is, and I just use video games for an example, but I mean, whatever it is, that's not really focused on taking time for the Lord, that's your worship. So, just in everyday life, in this, and I was so glad that Shannon mentioned how he worships being so much different.
Yeah.
Because that's something that you and I have talked about several times. Like, there is no cookie cutter. This is how you must pray and worship.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, everybody is different, and I've said this 100 times. Everybody's different. It's just making the time to worship the Lord. So I think in anybody's everyday life, I think it's just being very intentional with taking a moment to acknowledge Jesus and who he is, and that he's worthy of that time. And just it doesn't have to be like fanatical.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like pulling out your worship flag and whipping it through your office and nothing like that. But just taking that moment, saying, Lord, like, I give you this time, and I want to have a moment with you, whether it be in. I'm sure you both could agree that there's some times where it is through song. Like, man, it's just a song that's just, man, that ministered to me so much, and I'm worshiping again, crying probably, but in the vehicle this time or something.
Right. Like, what's wrong with that?
Yeah, like at the
Wrong with that guy?
stoplight, man. That guy is a wreck.
He's having a tough morning.
Good.
Yeah. But or it's sometimes, just hearing something. It might be something short, and it's just something the Lord speaks to you. It's like, man, yeah, I could really apply that. But I think, you were talking about pushing it in somebody's everyday life. I think it's just being intentional with it. Like making a set time to where you can worship. And just, what you worship.
I think a lot of this kind of, peels back on heart posture, but do you think there's a sense of like your physical posture in worship? And I'm talking about music, like whether you're on your knees or your hands are up, because, you see a whole diversity of that in church. With people that are standing, not singing, people singing with hands, all of that. Do you think that there's any significance to God and that, like a humbling of a posture, or do you look at any of that?
So my perspective on that, so at that point now we're talking about classify it, right? So we're talking about the outward physical form of your worship.
Mm-hmm.
And to me personally, which is kind of why, like what we said earlier, I'm different on stage than I am in person. For myself, again, not for everybody else.
If I'm not being physical in my worship, then to me it's lacking.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's different. Everybody's super reserved when the time comes, and I get it. I would challenge that, not saying it's wrong, but as a challenge for anybody who's never allowed themselves to be some kind of physical during worship. To me, it goes back to, what are you willing to give him? If you're in a worship service and you're there and you're loving it,
Yeah.
but your face doesn't say that,
Yeah.
and your body posture doesn't say that. Obviously, God knows. Yep, God knows. He does. At some point, though, you have to say, okay, well, then what are you offering him?
Good point.
If I'm standing statuesque and my face doesn't move, and I'm not singing the songs, I'm literally just here. But in my mind, I'm super happy about it, and I'm loving Jesus. Then what are you offering him at this time, other than just your time literally being in the building?
Yeah.
Good point.
Versus, especially since it is uncomfortable for you, raise a hand.
Clap. Open your mouth and
And
Project words from your
And
mouth.
It's funny,
Yeah.
but I would challenge somebody who is adamant that this is all I can do. It's not. You have the ability to worship.
Yes.
And I always go to, and again, I don't want to shame people or seem contradictory to people who aren't comfortable in that.
That's
get it.
okay, because I'm going to tell a story.
I get it, but I always go back to, and Trent knows the situation. We used to serve at a church that had a kind of sister ministry within the church called Celebrate Recovery. And Celebrate Recovery was primarily for people who had some form of addiction.
Okay.
Not just substance. I
Not
mean,
just substance,
any form.
any
type of
kind,
addiction.
any kind
Okay.
of addiction. And you always knew when the Celebration Recovery group was in church.
Yes.
Okay.
Because they were not over the top, not out of pocket, not out of hand, but they were the ones who were really worshiping God and really going after the moment,
Like
Yeah.
sincerely.
because I've been through some stuff
Yeah.
and he's brought me out of it,
Yeah.
and I'm going to now take this time to thank him openly because he saved me openly.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
And so seeing people in that mindset and in that situation, stand next to people who have served the Lord their entire lives and barely move. To me, I'm like, I want to go to that person and say, so what are we doing?
Yeah. I'm going to get myself in trouble here. Because, we all know people like that. And my question is, and it's a sincere question. It's not a challenging question.
Right.
But it's, have you ever experienced the true presence of Jesus? Have you allowed him, his Holy Spirit, to move over you in a way you were asking about physical posture? Yes. I feel like, man, there's sometimes there's a difference, and I'm using Shannon as an example, because when they're leading worship, and it's a moment when the Spirit of God is moving, and we believe, Pastor going to appreciate this, at our church, is one of our core values is God's presence is our priority.
Mm-hmm.
That's priority one. Lord, we want you here.
Yep.
But as a leader, like, there are times where he's on his knees. And it's not about the song or the time of service or anything like that. In that moment, it's a surrender. Lord, I'm surrendering to you. Our worship leaders on stage doing that. I think about Megan, today, like, just being there. It's an intimacy of worship. And it's something of saying, why not? You know what I mean? Why not show him what he's worthy for? I'm not saying bow down and curtsy. I'm saying, like, it is a humbleness of, Lord, I surrender to you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you are worthy of my praise. Breakthroughs. You think about people's situations, people's lives. Man, you were talking about, like, the CR people. They're that way because their breakthroughs came through that worship.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, Jesus showed up in the darkest time of their life and radically transformed them through worship. So when I say that, I'm going to get myself in trouble and say, man, have you ever allowed the Holy Spirit of God to just humble you in a moment? Raise your hands. Nobody can worry about that with me. Look, I'm long past that. Like, I'm all like, oh, it don't matter. But there's something different when we take what we normally do. It's not worship. Worship in church is not a routine. That is not why they're up there. Pastor Shannon is not up there worshiping because he has nothing better to do with his day. He is inviting the Holy Spirit of God in this place to change all of us. Lord, we need you here. Change us. So it is. I think that posture is important. And I said we were going to tell a story. When we first started at the church, like, I had to talk Pastor Shannon down about every Sunday. He's like, bro, I felt like I was singing to the dead.
Right.
Because it was bright in there. It wasn't dark yet. So, like, you'd be singing, they'd just be like,
People just staring.
Right.
it's like, who are you singing to?
Right. Yeah.
Like, are you singing to anybody?
Right.
But it shows you the culture that it has been formed of a tradition, of routine. Oh, I'm in church. Sundays are the time that we come together and do it as a body.
Right.
Monday through Saturday is when we're priming it, getting it ready for Sunday, so that it just everybody busts loose, and like just lets the Holy Spirit just move. I can say that we're long past that now. Right. Like we've gotten past that, but as far as the physical posture, man, I want to challenge some people. Like, if you don't, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with you or that you're not worshiping God the way that you're supposed to. I don't know your heart. I can't. That's nothing. But I want to challenge you to make yourself vulnerable before the Lord.
I think that's so. If I can interject.
Oh, absolutely.
So my first thing is, especially the men. I feel like men in the church.
Let's go. It's okay. It's a free space.
Call it out.
Yeah. Like, you're not gonna get in trouble. Oh,
So
You will be if you spill coffee on my
Right.
carpet.
it's
Yeah.
empty. Thanks. It was a prop.
Yeah, exactly. It's not real. It's not real. Men historically in the church, at least that I've seen, not all men, but when I say men in the church, I'm speaking as a whole. We're called to be the leaders, right? Men are the leaders of the home and your families and everything, and never doubting your relationship with God, the most godliest men you've ever met in your life. And then when you step into church in the quote unquote presence of God, the time that you've dedicated, and then you don't do a thing.
Yep.
That makes sense.
The man who's professed Jesus and I love God and he's why I live my life, and then I walk into church and I stand there and don't move. Men are, if I can say it this way, men are leaving so much on the table.
Yeah, that's true.
You're leaving so much on the table.
Good point.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is because you literally just said it. It's not allowing the vulnerability to do that.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying jump up and down. I'm not saying run pews. I'm not saying any of that. Just raise a hand. Raise a hand and sing to God.
Acknowledge that you're worshiping.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if you could get to that point, worship would make so much more sense to you. Because I feel like, in my experience, the men who are that way don't get it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, you're missing the depth.
Worship is for the women, or it's for the few men who are
Right.
about it. And I'm here to hear the word.
I brought my
And
family. I did my part.
I'm getting through worship to get to the preaching, and then we're gonna go home.
That's the truth, man. That's the truth.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I understand that. And you are the manliest man I've ever met,
Total respect.
and love you for it. But go back to the man you were just talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What did David do?
Said that he was dancing before the Lord and said that he would become even more undignified.
When his wife called him out because he was supposed to be king, and he's out here showing off or showing out
dancing
and
around for the
dancing
Lord.
around the ark, which is the presence of God.
Yeah.
And he said, "Woman, I'll do more than what you have seen."
Yeah. you ain't seen
Because
nothing
at
yet.
this point,
Yeah.
I'm praising him. I'm doing
Yeah.
this for him,
Yeah.
not for you or not for y'all. And if the men in the church could get to a point to where they would understand it ain't about the people around you,
right.
or it ain't about how you were raised or when you were raised.
Yeah.
It's about Jesus.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yes.
Going.
So please,
Yeah.
please take that junk off
Yeah.
and open yourself up to a move of God and be a part of the body at the time. Y'all may be doing it at home or in your closet or in the car, and nobody ever sees it. And God sees it, and that's great.
Yeah.
What are you going to offer him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Lay
that's
that-
true.
Lay down the pride, humble
Yeah.
yourself.
Like, we can't give him anything that he doesn't already have, like that, or worship. That's the least that we can do is.
And I feel like
Yeah.
One of the things that's always been a part of my worship ministry has been to try to come across to those guys and hopefully be some kind of version to say, okay, it's not a girly thing.
Yeah.
Because I feel like so much time, like the outward expression of worship, at least to a generation of men, is nah, that's not, we ain't doing that.
Yeah.
And part of that is because I feel like most worship pastors aren't the manliest guys, and it's just because they're musicians, and it's just is what it is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of those guys are looking at them and say, we ain't the same.
Right.
So
Right.
I ain't
Yeah.
I ain't
I'm not
doing
gonna
that.
participate.
I'm not going to participate. And so a lot of times it for me, it's how I express my worship naturally. But if you just sit there and watch, it's a little aggressive at times.
Yours?
Mine.
Oh, absolutely.
And
I
so,
think that's why I like it so much.
but
Yeah.
but okay, so that's the thing though. Like, sometimes it's like a fight.
Oh yeah. Oh, 100%.
And so,
Dude,
and I'm like,
100%.
if you would understand that and approach it from that perspective, then maybe you'd understand. Whoa, this isn't just I'm doing this for the sake of doing it. I'm fighting in the moment,
You're fighting in the spiritual realm.
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, anyway,
Well, and I mean, just to build on that,
I love it.
you know, another thing about that whole situation is like that atmosphere is prime for you. And there's a lot of churches this way. I'm primarily speaking about my church. It's dark in there during worship. Why is it dark? It's not because we wanted a light show. It's creating an intimate environment where everybody's not looking around, because we know the nosy people that just want to sit there and people watch. But it's creating an environment to where you have that intimacy. It's loud.
Yeah.
Why is it loud? Dude, there's people that can't sing.
And they don't want to hear Trent and I sing.
That's
Yeah.
exactly right. That's exactly right. So the loudness is so that you can sing freely
Right.
and worship freely, you know. And something that Jonathan says a lot, that if you really think about this statement, well, there's actually two of them. He tells, you know, Shannon says, like, be participants in worship. Like, don't be spectators.
Right.
Be
Yeah.
participants in worship. And then adding on that, what Jonathan says is, if you don't like the song, that's okay. If we didn't sing your favorite song, that's okay. Why? Because it's not about you.
Right.
That's
Like, we
right.
ain't singing to you.
That's
Right.
right.
You know what I mean? We're singing to Jesus.
Yeah.
So take your mind off of the things,
Yeah.
Right.
lights, sound, whatever, you know, take all those things, and who are you doing it to?
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Try it
Yeah.
and create an intimate environment and allow the Holy Spirit of God move. Man, we see people healed.
Yeah.
We see people's lives radically transformed, and and look, I'm a worship biased. He knows this. I say this all the time. I feel that worship in your life is one of the, if not the most important thing to do. To me, it's one of the most important times in the service, because you are ushering the presence of God into that place.
Yeah.
You're inviting here. Lord, you are welcome here. You know, and you are allowing people to experience a taste of heaven
Yeah.
here on earth.
Yeah.
Because, dude, when his presence moves, man, like, lives are changed. You can't help but to change.
Right.
You have no choice but to change. You know, and so, yeah, you know, like, being as a man, it's important. Just and just touch on it. Who taught your kids to raise their hands? They seen you do it.
Right.
You know, same thing with my kids. Like, you didn't think about that,
Yeah.
but bro, you want to talk about dad heart? Like, you look over and you see your kids worshiping, not
Right.
because you've told them to worship,
Yeah.
but because they're having a moment with the Lord. You can see it on their face, like you can see it in their posture
Yeah.
that God is moving in their life. You know, nobody taught them to do that. I didn't teach my kids to raise their hands
But they're
or
watching.
sing and close their eyes or whatever. Dude, last night of worship, our daughters were down front on their knees. What? Like,
That's amazing.
who taught you that junk? You know, nothing. The presence of God. They understand that when the presence of God is moving, that's an okay place to be.
Right.
You know, to surrender yourself and whatever it takes. If you feel that it's time for you to get down on your knees and worship Him, let's go.
Do it.
Let's do it. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? I'm watching from the back. I ain't gonna let nobody jump on top of you. It's fine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, maybe watching. I might be crying. But
through tears.
Yeah, right.
Watch,
Yeah,
watch,
yeah.
through,
Tears, let's
watch
do
through
Yeah,
tears.
yeah. But just allow yourself to be really vulnerable to allowing the presence of God. I've watched way too many moments where men have stood stoically and left, and you're like, it's just what you said, like leaving something on the table, man.
Absolutely.
Like, dude, you can't help but to just be shook by that, and they're just like, like, did you not feel anything?
Right.
But it is, man. Just be vulnerable. Like, worship the Lord. Why? Because he's worthy.
Absolutely.
Like he's worthy of it.
Yeah.
At the minimum.
And even if you feel like you never did anything in your life, what he did for your life. You know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, where my life radically changed as far as my relationship with the Lord was through worship, not just Sunday worship, but through intimate worship in our alone time and stuff like that. I've experienced God more there than I ever have in a corporate setting. But I would never be able to experience God in a corporate setting if I didn't prime my life by those intimate moments by myself.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, Shannon, we appreciate you coming over
bro.
and hopping on the podcast.
Absolutely.
And is there anything that you'd want to encourage anybody listening to, kind of wrap things out, whether it be just motivation to pursue worship, or maybe if they have a feeling like they've got a calling on their life to serve through worship? Like, is there anything that you would kind of want to, push to anybody listening?
I really just think just to reiterate what we've said, not just for the men, but for everybody. Worship is a huge part of our lives as a Christian. Again, like we said, it's the one thing that we have to offer, really, to Him, directly to Him. There's things we can do for Him, to other people, or for other people, and things like that. But it's the one thing that we have to actually offer Him. So don't bypass that strictly because you see it as this thing that happens on Sunday morning.
Yeah, it's huge. Well, thanks for hopping on with us, Shannon. And again, we appreciate you all tuning in. We are still going to have boundaries at some point.
That's coming. We haven't forgot about you.
We
I
have
promise.
not forgot about it. That'll be the next one we film. But like always, if there's anything specific you all want to hear us talk about, or if you're interested in being a guest on the podcast, feel free to drop a comment below. But again, thanks for tuning in. I'm Adam.
I'm Trent.
This is Righteous Revolution Podcast. Thanks, y'all.